Welcome again to part 3 of the Violence Interrupted seminar series. It is Monday the 16th of November. My name is Whitney Iles. I am a serious youth violence practitioner. I have been in the field for the last 13 years. For the last 4 years, I've been running a organization called Project 507. And the majority of the work that we do has been in the UK prison system, in prisons up and down the UK, but mostly across London and the southeast of England. We do a lot of work around violence reduction and gang interventions, working with young people from the ages of 15 to probably about 30 at the moment, both young men and young women. I am currently got 2 phones next to me that are going off like crazy. So yeah, that's who I am, a bit about my experience. I started the Violence Interrupted seminar series 2 weeks ago now, just from a conversation I was having with a friend of mine, Gwenton, who, you know, it just been a weekend where we had seen a lot of violence, and I think we've seen a lot of violence in the last 2 weeks as well. And we know that it can be very easily to be overwhelmed by violence and what's really going, like, and what we need to do to, you know, decrease violence. And what the Violence Interrupted seminars are here to do is just start dialogue, start having conversations, start spreading knowledge, because I'm aware that there's so many people out there that want to know more and want to have a good understanding. But, you know, there's very few platforms where people are really talking. And what I wanted to start was a very kind of raw, authentic, grassroots platform where we can have the difficult conversations and the conversations that really need to be had. I feel like in, you know, the wake of what's happened over the last few days in Paris, just a reminder that, you know, the context of violence that we're speaking about on the platform is more to do with serious youth violence and violence within a youth context. I don't want to get too much into, you know, my opinion or anyone's opinions on what's going on in the wider global sense. I think that is a conversation that needs to be had outside of this platform, but I do think it is a conversation that needs to be had, but just with a lot more thought processed around it, rather than, you know, coming online today and having a conversation because it's you know, relevant to what's going on. There's also there's a lot of different types of violence happening around the world, and, you know, if you're like me, I don't like it anywhere in any context, so I'm trying to play my part or do my part. I'm hoping to be joined today by Jay, who is a social analyst, but his signal seems to be quite low at the moment. Jay, if you can hear me, try hanging up and connecting again. I also have a couple of other guests who are supposed to be joining, but I am not quite sure what's going on today. But hey ho, that is just the way it goes sometimes. But if I don't hear from them by about 20 past, we might have to put a pause on today's session and do it later on in the week. Now, I've had a few people message me on Twitter saying that they really enjoyed last week's seminar, last week's Blab, but they couldn't quite understand some of the things that were being said because there was poor sound quality. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but like I said, if anyone has any comments, feel free to tweet me within the week and I will look at how we can develop something further. Just to go over a few of the things that we spoke about last week in regards of trauma. So Ariel, who is a, you know, clinical psychotherapist, he does a lot of my clinical supervision, and he specializes in adolescent development from a psychoanalytical psychotherapist perspective. And I asked him to, you know, join the conversation last week to speak about trauma. So one of the things we touched on there was the actual psychoanalytical definition of trauma, which he described as a life event defined by its intensity and impact, and the impact it's had on whoever is there to experience it, and by the upheaval and lasting effect of and by the upheaval and lasting effect it has on someone. But that also means it can be very subjective. It means that a lot of things can be traumatic to a lot of people, and what is, you know, traumatic to you could not be traumatic to me, and what could be traumatic to me could be, you know, traumatic to you. And Kast, I see your voice notes coming through to me, but you're going to have to message me on the Blab, please, because I can't listen to it right now. So, you know, trauma from a psychoanalytical perspective is very broad, and it can mean many things to many different people. But what there also is, and I think it's more relevant to the young people that we're working with, or I know that we're working with in Project 507, is trauma is more relational, which means, you know, trauma is within a relationship. I've got it here that it's more of a chronic traumatic experience rather than one or two major experiences or major life events. It's something that's ongoing, and that's what we experience a lot with the young people that we work with. And what we've also seen is I'm just reading my notes, if that's why I'm stuttering a little bit. You know, what we were speaking about last week was how young people, the young people we've been working with, react to trauma. And actually a lot of it is, you know, there is this overwhelming feeling that is, well, it's overwhelming, it's too much to bear. And what these young people are doing is they're putting that feeling on someone else, you know, and violence is, in this context, is relational. It has to be with someone that, you know, someone that is alive, someone that can feel. Because if I'm a young person and I'm feeling, you know, scared or frightened or afraid or, you know, passive or shameful, I want to make someone else feel that. And what we were talking about last week was, you know, what is happening with the violence in the context of, you know, the prisons or the gangs or just young people in general. And that is this feeling that is wanting to be pushed from one person to the next person to the next person, which I think, you know, goes back to what we were speaking about on the first seminar when we spoke about violence as an epidemic. And actually violence spreads, and violence spreads very much like a infectious disease. And what we need to do as practitioners is find out how we can, you know, interrupt and how we can stop the spreading of that violence. So now we're starting to understand that, you know, if one person has been traumatized, and how they're trying to deal with that trauma is to pass on those feelings, to escape the feelings within themselves. You know, it enables us to do a little bit more. It enables us to actually get involved a little bit, and for us as practitioners or us as community members to be less passive in that. And we also spoke about, this is the thing that I found, you know, really, really interesting, was the avoidance of guilt, and how being violent again and again and again can also be an avoidance of guilt. Because if I've gone and I've stabbed someone, in order to not feel guilty about that, in order to not acknowledge that and the pain and the hurt that I feel because of the pain that I've just inflicted on another human being, I can do it again. Because by doing it again almost justifies it. And by doing it again enables us, or even being more brutal with it, enables a person to move further and further away from the guilt that they're feeling. I found that, you know, to me, that was very eye-opening, and it was something that I hadn't particularly thought about before. And I remember having a conversation with Ariel, you know, months ago, when he said to me, you know, if I'm in a therapeutic setting with a child and that child kicks me, is that child going to be more or less likely to kick me again later on? And I was thinking, you know, I don't really know. It's not really something that I'm familiar with. And he was like, well, actually, the child's more likely to kick me, because the child's got away with it, and two, you know, has a feeling of power from it. So on one sense, there is the guilt and the running away from the trauma, but there's also the being able to survive an attack, or survive attacking someone, and having I think it was called previously, the kind of feeling immortal. You know, if you've been stabbed and you survived it, there is something about that that's very powerful. But there's also something about that is, it's allowing. Sorry, I'm just adding Gwenton. There's something about that that's very powerful, but there's also something about that enables us to think about. I see you smiling already. There's also something about that enables a young person to get into the mind state, well, if I've been stabbed and survived, I can stab someone else and they can survive. And I think, Gwenton, perfect timing. And that's something that, you were speaking about on the first Blab, in regards of, a lot of these young people don't know what they've done. With the young man you were speaking about who said to you, what, can't we just get him a new heart? I thought that was extremely powerful. But before we get into that, hi. You look very comfortable today. How are you? You need to speak up a little bit because we can't hear you talk.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we can hear you now. So, Gwenton, say hello. Explain a little bit about who you are.
Good evening, world. I'm the fabulous Gwenton Sloley from the UK. Work with a lot of young people and families from across the country, and just trying to understand about what this new agenda or this new push is to be making sure that all these young people are getting the trauma support that they need. Because as I heard you saying as I was logging in, a lot of these young people are traumatized. I went to a training with another friend of ours, a mutual friend of both of us, and she was delivering a session on shame. And her name is Diana Senior. And it's when I was listening to the way that she delivered it, I never thought about it like that. So someone's at work, they get pushed around by their boss. They have to keep that in because they don't want to lose their job. They go home, take that out on their wife. So now they've passed on that to their wife. So then the wife takes it out on the children. The children need to pass that on to someone else. So if they can't go outside, they pass it on to the cat or the dog or younger siblings. So it's about each of us passing on that shame and that pain. And it's the same thing with that whole domestic violence and other intake of violence and things that we might see on the TV. Sometimes these young people just want to try it out. A lot of them, I said this on Saturday before I left that community meeting. A lot of these young people are in a room, even now as we're speaking. They're playing these online murder each other games. So anywhere you are across the country, we could log on right now and you could try your best to kill me and I'll try my best to kill you. These things look like it's really happening in real life. You could do whatever you want like it's real life. At the same time they're doing that, some of them might be drinking because a lot of these young people now see these celebrities drinking, so they might be drinking. So they're playing it, they're drinking. But 9 out of 10 times they're smoking their drugs that they've just grown in some cellar or somewhere for a amount of weeks with all sorts of fiberglass and all that. So when they leave their house, they still think they're in game mode till they actually take someone's life. Because the reality of them being locked in that room and being able to kill and chuck whoever wherever they want to follows them outside the house. And if your other friends still think they're in game mode as well, until you catch a murder case, you're going to keep living in game mode. And that's just one scenario of this thing that these young people are struggling with. The next one is what I started off by talking about, is this shame thing. If you see your mum being bullied, your dad's being bullied, and you're being bullied, you need to pass that on to someone, and it becomes addictive. And that's the thing what we need to understand. Understand what violence is. Understand the power you get from hurting someone else. Understand the feeling that it gives you inside where you feel good about yourself because you've released certain sort of violence and other things onto other people. It gives you, it's like it releases some sort of chemicals in your brain that makes you feel like you've just got off an aircraft and you've landed in a hot country, you're about to go on the beach. It's a feeling that a lot of people don't like to talk about.
And that's what I think Ariel was speaking about as well last week, but just from a different perspective. It's about having that feeling of shame or that feeling of smallness and being able to give it to someone else. And, you know, what we were speaking about yesterday, hey Jay, was from a very, last week was from a very kind of analytical perspective. What Diana was speaking about, I have the book here because it's one of my favorite books, is from this book, which is Violence, Reflection on Our Deadliest Epidemic by James Gilligan. This is the book that speaks about violence and shame, that I know Diana's read it a few times, and speaks all about how, you know, shame is past and what shame makes a person feel like, and how shame is the root of a lot of violence. But also when we speak to, you know, to take it a little bit further, when we speak about children, a lot of the younger children don't have a mind that's developed enough to understand shame, and it's still in that humiliation phase. So it's about pushing that humiliation onto another person. So we can speak about shame, but we also have to be mindful that for the different age developments, it is contextualized in a different way, just because how an 8-year-old thinks compared to a 14-year-old, compared to an 18-year-old, compared to a 25-year-old and an adult. Jay, welcome. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Do you know what? My laptop was doing a lot of stuff. So.
It's all right. So Gwenton's here as well. Gwenton's just introduced.
Cool.
Big up yourself, love.
We used to know each other. So Jay, can you just introduce yourself? I know I asked you previously just to prepare something that you would like to speak about. So just say who you are, what you do, and start us off with what you would also like to think about today.
Yeah. All right. My name is Jay Kast. First and foremost, I am, I suppose, in some way, an activist as it relates to, you know, Black issues, Black community issues. Progressing from that and evolving from that, we started an organisation which I represent, which is called 100 Black Families. You know, and that's just really dealing with the crux of the issue as it relates to this. This is being one part of it in terms of violence, in terms of gangs, street culture, so on and so forth. But really rooting many of the problems in the Black community in the family, and then in a way administering the solution through the family. So that's the company, you know, the organisation we're trying to get on our feet right now. And you know, before that, I mean, my past and previous experience is in relation to doing youth work, and also working with Whitney. You know, when I was back in our young days, when I was, 15, 16, and that. And then after that, I was a grime MC, and I was into a lot of music, raps. You know, so I'm from that particular culture, evolved through the youth services, and now I'm getting into putting out an organisation for myself.
Brilliant. So I spoke to you over the weekend, and I said, prepare a little something about, you know, what you want to bring to the conversation today. Have you got something that you would like to start us off with?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, my perspective as it relates to, you know, knife and gun culture. I wrote a blog a little while ago, which was called, what was it called? It was called Why We Carry Knives. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring that perspective forward was because I was reading a lot of work, you know, as it relates, in relation to Anti-Knife UK, in relation to a lot of anti-knife campaigns. And a lot of the stuff I was hearing was very surface issue stuff in dealing with what they saw, rather than the actual underlying causes, and you know, having any real experience to being within a particular street culture and whatnot. So I said to myself, well, coming from that street culture, I think it's imperative that I put forward our understanding, not just mine, but our particular culture's understanding. And it was really talking about the underlying issues. And I think if anyone that's willing to deal with and tackle what we're dealing with at the moment has really got to come at it from the perspective of underlying cause, and even the underlying cause of the underlying cause, in relation to emotion, in relation to culture, in relation to stress, in relation to trauma, that precipitates, if you like, the violence, rather than us just seeing it from a gang banging, they're shooting up each other, So maybe the solution is then bringing the gangs together and saying, hey, let's stop the gang violence. It isn't that. The gang violence is still going to continue because the environment that the people are coming from is what's, you know, continually building the trauma and the dramas in the community. So that's my angle. So anything, you know, other than that, it's going to be a difficult conversation with me. But yeah, so that's what I'm coming from.
I'm glad you kept it honest and real and said it's not gonna stop. It's gonna continue because you know what we're starting to see here. Certain people with spanners and pliers thinking, and some sellotape thinking that they're gonna patch up the killings that's happening on our streets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use a youth club for example. Go straight. Yeah, since we're people that work with this client group and understand the client group, let's use a youth club. Certain people think that the people they engage with in the youth club are going to stop the violence on the street. No, it's not. The youth them that come to the youth club are in there for two different reasons. Either they feel safe or they don't even understand what's going on. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
If you find a youth or youths in that youth club that are causing carnage on the street, because it's carnage, because people are dying nearly every other day right now.
Mm-hmm.
Them youths are in there trying to either exploit the other youths that's in there, or they're in there to hide. Yeah? But you're not gonna find them youths turning up to them places there that need the help. And the reason why them youths are not getting help is exactly this reason here now. They're out there, no one even takes the time out to understand them. Yeah? And the biggest part of it is, whether people agree with me or not, people are scared of them. They're scared. They're actually scared to go and talk to them because they don't understand that the youths them causing the killings, some of them just need a hug or someone to talk to. You understand? As bad as they are, that's what they need. They need a hug or someone that says, you know what, listen, I understand what you're not going through right now. This is what we're going to be talking about. Yeah? But how many people are actually doing that? The parents, boy, I don't know. Someone said something to me, and I'm just gonna put it out there. You can deny, disagree or whatever with it. But I it's a bit touchy, but I agree with what the person said. They said to me, a lot of these youths intend on killing people and also do not have a care in the world if they get killed. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
For the first one that I just said, they're intending on killing people, we as a collective need to stop that from happening. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But the second one is the point that really gave me a different outlook on this whole madness that's going on out there. The person said to me, if these youths really want to get themselves killed, why don't they take out life insurance? And I was lost for words. I was actually lost for words because you know what? That's when the reality came back home. If you sit down and you say to a youth, you know what? You want to get yourself killed. When you die, your family can't bury you. Why don't you go take out life insurance? That's a sensible conversation to be having with a youth, you know? Mm-hmm. Because if the youth then starts having that conversation with you, then you know where he's coming from. How traumatized is this child when you're having that conversation with him? Because a lot of time we're not having them sensible conversations with these people. We're talking about them, but not to them.
Yeah. There's a question, do you agree with gun rights to protect yourself? We're over in the UK, so guns are illegal. There are no guns. The guns that the young people are using to kill each other with are completely illegal. You can't go to the corner shop and buy guns here. So we're speaking from a perspective that, you know, guns aren't readily available. They're not something that we can just go out and purchase. Also,
but do we agree? Sorry, can I just interject there? I just want to ask you a lot of questions to say if you like. There was an article that I saw today on my newsfeed, and it was in relation to, I think it was a Voice newspaper, and it was in relation to, they were saying that a lot of the youths are going out now and readily buying stab-proof vests,
I saw that. I
saw
saw that.
Yeah. What do we think about that? Because I know when I was young, you know, there was a certain time where there was always a spike. I mean, this isn't anything new. This has been happening since 2006. My dad will come along and tell it's been happening since then. And whenever there was a spike in like crime or anything, you know, happening in the community, and that was a general atmosphere in the community, everyone readily went out and got picked up. So they readily went out and picked up stuff to protect themselves. In relation to that kind of question, what he was just talking about, do we think is it understandable, or furthermore, is it acceptable to wear or buy something to protect yourself in this climate?
I mean, to be fair, I think particularly young people have been wearing, or adults have been wearing, you know, bulletproof vests and stab-proof vests for a very long time. It's just something people don't speak about. I mean, I remember seeing guys with, what's it called, the big yellow pages, like in the gangster American movies, tucked into their pants. You know, this is nothing. From my perspective, it's nothing new, but I do think that the media needs to be responsible for the messages that it's spreading at the same time as well. You're burning.
I can see.
I totally agree with that. You know why? When I saw it today, I know it's bad to say that. When I saw it today, I ignored it because I thought to myself, for one, why are you putting that in the paper? Because what you then do, it's like the media has a big part to play with the spread of these things. Because you're going to put that in there, and the next little youth in another area is thinking, wait a minute, we're not wearing vests, but it's legal to wear vests. Where do they sell them? Yeah, where do we go and get some vests? Because if we wear vests as well, like them people over wherever, people are going to know that we're on job as well. We're serious. And this is how these young people think. By putting on that vest, they get some more credibility. Young man stabbed, but he had his vest on. And as long as that young man survives, the amount of respect that he's going to get just that he had his vest on when he got stabbed is out of this world. And these are the things that they need to really watch what they're doing. There's no reason to make the news sound a bit more edgy, because if you really think about it, that's showing how scared these young people are that they're putting on a vest because they don't want to die. That's what we should be looking at, not thinking, oh yeah, they're putting on a vest because they're ready to die or ready to go to war. These youths are not combat soldiers. They're young boys and young girls that are just out there playing the game until they start seeing blood running out of them, and then they see that this life's not a joke. And a lot of them, until they either take someone's life or the blood's running out of them, they don't take this thing serious.
So what also about the argument, talking about things that you've seen in the press this week or things that you've seen on Twitter, I was seeing a discussion had on Twitter that the levels in knife crime is all due to parents without fathers, or households without fathers. Where are we with that discussion? Because I know where I stand. I would just like to bring it to you guys.
That's funny.
I think it is it plays a part. I don't think we can deny that. I think that fatherless households, I think there's some statistics that I was studying the other day that said we've got 142,000, I think it is, single parent households in this country, black parent households in this country, and that there are obviously extra risk of developing things like addiction, developing things like committing a serious offence and so on and so forth from those people who come from a single parent household. And I think there's a lot of research and data that shows single parent households do have an effect on the child later in life, do have an effect on the child at that particular time, whether it's in school, wherever it is. I don't think we can blame it all on absent fathers. I think it's crazy. I think we've got a lot of single parents who are doing their best. I think the problem is, though, that they're doing their best in near to impossible circumstances. So for the stuff they're doing is kind of like the extra balance or the extra being able to shift away and pass it on to the other parent isn't there, and so there are repercussions in that child's life. I don't think, even in terms of what I'm doing, the 100 Black Families situation, it's also going to act as support in the community. So if we have got those single parents in the community, we should be able to, and we did at one point, we were able to rely on people that weren't necessarily blood family, but they were extended family. to come in and help out and, show, take the child here if the child needs to be there, read with the child or whatever it was. I do think there are ways around it without blaming the dad. I think that contributes to it, but I don't think that is the sole underlying purpose or the cause to what's happening as it relates to crime, violence, or anything in a young man's life. I'm someone who's just recently, probably in the last 3 years, I just met my father. Been known for about 27 years, and I think there are certain things growing up that affected me in a certain way. It was totally a disabling factor in my life. That's more credit, due to my mum. So I think it's got a lot to do with the parent that raises you, how strong they are, their position in society, so on and so forth, what they can do for you. It's got an effect. It contributes to it, but I don't think that's the sole 100% reason.
All right. We're going to start from the roots and the basics of this. A lot of people like to talk about single parent household and fathers absent and all that. For me, I'm going to tell you straight. I would rather a father be absent than a youth growing up in a house where the mum and dad's fighting every day. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. Yeah? I've grown up both with my mum at separate stages and long stage with just my dad. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And to be honest, none of the two of them, with all the love and care in the world, could have done anything to stop me from doing whatever I wanted once I got to a certain age. Mm. It comes back down to this whole thing. Fathers haven't been there for centuries. Fathers are not going to be there for centuries to come. And the reason why that is for a woman, 9 out of 10 times a woman gets landed with the baby and have to raise the baby. A man could do his stuff and keep it moving and do his stuff again. Not a lot of men know how to be dads. That's the first thing. Because when people talk about parents, there's no manual to be a parent. I got 4 of them, and no matter what teaching my parents gave me, every single day is a learning to have four. I got 3 girls and 1 boy. So there ain't no manual, and it's easy when you're not with someone for that person to do things, to put obstacles in the way for you to be a good parent, to the point where certain time I've had to come to that realization myself. A lot of times when men are not there for their kids, we need to really, once we get a chance, sit down with the man and say to him, wow, so why weren't you there playing your role? Because we normally look at the traditional reason why certain men don't play their role as useless dad or whatever else, but there can be an ingredient of things in there why the man didn't decide to step up to the plate. But coming back down to the main thing again, I don't believe at all that it's because of men. I think it's poverty and deprivation. Let's look at what's happening now. The real truth of what's happening now. There's a lot of people on benefits right now, scared, petrified, petrified that their little benefits in the next couple of months are going to get cut. Mm-hmm. Youths them are in the house seeing mummy crying. They're seeing, even if it's their dad they live with, they're seeing the dad scared. They're seeing the dad crying. Them things there affect the youths. It's simple little things like that. When you go home and your fridge is empty and you see people arguing on Prime Minister's question time about how they want to cut this and slash that, that's coming into people's houses. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing a lot of single parents, that are stressed right now. They don't care about nothing. All they care about is that next April, their child tax credit is not cut, because if that's cut, they're going to be depressed. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about them immediate things that just impact the home straight away. We're not even talking about anything happening outside. We're talking about things that are happening in government that is coming in the house and disturbing the whole dynamics of the house. And no one can't help make anyone feel better if they think they're going to lose their little pennies that they're getting. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to look at. These youths are in the house and seeing mummy crying over them things. And the more cuts that's happening is the worse that it's getting. A lot of people are being made redundant here after 30, 25 years of service. Mm-hmm. They're getting made redundant daily. So we need to think about them homes that they're going back to, or the parents get up to go to work every day and they've had a massive pay cut and they're walking on thin ice every day because they don't know if they're going to come back home having a job. These are the things that's coming back in the house. And although as parents we might think that we're covering up the cracks and all that, the youths them are seeing that, you know, I can't even buy you this for Christmas if they celebrate Christmas. Because right now we ain't got that money.
Mm. And I think it's getting to the point where the young people aren't even asking anymore. I know a lot of young people that wouldn't even dare ask their mum or dad for the trainers that they want or for the books that they need for school. They'd rather just go out and provide it because they already see the amount of stress that their parents are going through.
I got a few young boys. I'll give you a quick example, yeah? I had one, he got stabbed 7 times after nearly going to prison down in Bridgeport for killing someone. So he got bail for that, came back to London. Within a week, he got stabbed 7. It could even be 8 times, yeah? Nearly lost his life. What do you think that kid was crying out for the whole time before he got stabbed? Please get me into a school. Okay, school's finished now. He's sitting at home begging for an apprenticeship, absolutely begging. Please, I need an apprenticeship or I'm going to end up going back out and drug dealing. I need an apprenticeship. My mom's driving me mad in the house. I'm trying my best to help this kid. Okay, we find him somewhere to go now on the Saturday, so he's not out there on the streets. But I don't want to go and do training because I can't afford the boots. My mum can't afford the boots, so who's going to buy me the boots? And if I can't get the boots, how am I going to go training when everyone else has got the boots? This is a youth that is actually out there now, probably one of the highest on the police matrix system, but the youth really wants help, and there's a bag of them out there that have finished school, and they're just there because once they finish, no one don't care about them. And they're begging out for apprenticeship, even if they're paying them minimum wage. Please help me get something, because I don't want to be out here.
Right. But Gwenton, do you think that, because obviously, so the question was in relation to obviously, does it affect the family home if a father or a dad's not there? Now, if they're making all these cuts and, you know, there's so much pressure on the family already, as we've established, does it not affect the family more if there's only, you know, one parent there? As if the mum is just there, and we know already that black women are notoriously paid. We know that in terms of the jobs they get, they aren't, you know, equal with or to the standard where they should be. So it kind of stands to reason that if a black man or a man in general isn't in the family, it affects the family household in terms of income, if not just dealing with the children.
No, I as I said, I agree with you on that point, and you already answered the point, which I'm gonna say again. It depends on that single parent. There's certain women out there that you won't even know there's a man in the house because they'll hold that house down for the 2 parents. Not a lot of parents could do that, so I totally understand that, and it does impact on the house. If one person's bringing in the money in the house and feeding the kids, they could have 4, 5, 6 kids, and it's just you one, and then all the cuts happening. Of course, it's going to impact, and that's when certain fathers need to step up. But at the end of the day, as we all know, not a lot of men know how to be men and do men stuff. You understand? Until that young person then becomes successful, then you see a lot of these men claiming their children or their son or daughter are gangsters on the street. They will claim them then as well, because we need to understand that a lot of these men are on the road with their kids. But it is true, and that is partly a part of the big problem that we're having now. The women are actually feeling it, and they need that support. And 9 out of 10, that's why the youths go on the road, because they're like, you know what, dad ain't here, so I'm gonna go and help mum pay the bills.
And in terms of role models as well, I think we do go and we try and find some form of identity from people that are older than us, or, you know, generally our crowd and our culture as well. So,
yeah, I think that is the key there, the role model. And a lot of these youths will look on the road and think, you know what, I wish that man there was my dad, you know. Yeah, but the guy's doing illegal things. But the way that he makes that young man feels inside is the way that the crave for the father figure that this young boy has been craving. And the guy will do everything for him that he was always wanted his dad to do. They'll even tell him, you know what, I love you, And just that word alone to that young person makes everything better. But really, the guy doesn't love him the way that he's saying he loves him. And sometimes, until it's too late, that young person don't realize that when he's saying he loves you, that's a road love, not a love that you should be getting from your dad.
Yeah, of course. Even the feeling that you get from him, it's a feeling, it's a sense of purpose, it's a sense of position, it's a sense of power. But it's very short term, it's temporary, it's just to kind of quench that thirst that you've got and that desire you've got for identity, for, again, purpose. But then, as soon as he's done with you, it's kind of like, yeah, keep it,
But then we come back to addiction again. If you've never had that love before, you then become addicted to it. No matter what anyone tells you, until that guy or people prove different, you're not going to go against whatever they're teaching you. And it becomes, we could translate that into many different formats. You understand? A lot of people get involved in things, and the way that the people make them feel is that what they weren't getting at home, and then that's it, they're gone. You could get people to do whatever you want once you told them you loved them. Yeah, and that's both male and female. If there's a young girl in the house, and for me, a lot of people think, oh yeah, these youths are running around, these boys are stabbing each other up because their dad's not in the house. Wait a minute here. Them young girls need their dad badly. Yeah, let's not forget that. Because if you don't show that girl, this is how a man's meant to treat you, and the next man just come like a road man, got respect, and the mum likes him as well because he's got manners and pull up his trousers when he comes in the house, and he tells her, you know what, I love you, What could you tell that girl? Because her dad went there. She don't know how a man's meant to treat her. And furthermore, my brothers used to beat me up as well. So if my boyfriend slaps me about, that's okay.
And I remember doing a group session in one of the prisons with the 21 to 25-year-olds, and one of the conversations that we had, was about the majority of them were fathers, and the majority of them that were fathers had girls. So we were talking about what it meant to be a father to a female, to have a daughter. And I remember the young men saying, well, if she grows up and she's with a man that beats her, that's okay as long as he financially provides for her. And this was the mindset of these young men for their daughters. And we had to really unpack like what that was and what that really meant, and do some work to change the mindset, because that was their mindset. As long as she's financially provided for, it does not matter what she goes through. And if that's how they're thinking about their daughters, then what are they thinking about their daughters' mothers, or the females around them, or their sisters, or their own mothers? And I think there's a lot there that needs to be unpacked. But I do agree, I like what you're saying about, it's very complex, the reasons why, there's so much knife crime, there's so much gun crime, especially it seems to be every other day at the moment. We just lost another young man, what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago in Liverpool? And, it's not just because of one thing, there's many different things. But I think what we now need to start focusing more so is the solutions. So if you had the kind of ideal, if you had the ideal budget, we had a nice, pot of money put away to do something, what do you think that needs to be done? Does it need to be the government doing it? Does it need to be the communities? Does it need to be the parents? Does it need to be the teachers? What would be the solution? What would be the action to stop these young people picking up weapons?
I don't mind going first. Well, I'll come back down to this. Go out there.
But before you start, see your volume on your phone. Is it low?
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Still the same kind of. Is it? Click the
Why is
volume.
it lower side? I'll come closer. You hear me now?
That's
all right. For me, I'll say this. It's not really about money, first of all. We don't need no money to do this.
I like that you said that.
Yeah, we don't need no money to do this. So let's take that out of the equation straight away. What we need to do is go out there and engage with the proper people then. Yeah? There's a lot of people out there that's got a lot of influence over the shootings, the stabbings, or whatever. They'll never come to a community event. You'll never catch them at a march, but they're there. And the reason why you have to respect them, because they don't want to be hypocrites. But they want to be legal. That's the key thing here, to stop the murders. The people with the power want to be legal. How do we help them be legal with their illegal assets? Yeah? So that's what we need. We need some sort of amnesty kind of thing, where we say, all right, we know you got illegal stuff, but you could stop the killing. How do we allow you, or cut a deal or something, where you could keep everything you got, but you have to control the use?
Boy, I can see the backlash that would get. I'm being devil's advocate and, you know, thinking of all the things that those in power and those authorities would say, or those people that disagree on, you know, it's basically saying that what they've done to get that money is okay, or that us as practitioners then are colluding. What is it? Colluding the right word? In their criminal activities? It's a very thin line.
But I'm going to show you when it becomes acceptable.
Go on.
If that same drug dealer or drug boss turned up to a community meeting and the whole building was quiet, believe me, people would work with that person then. Yeah? This is the difference about playing this crazy game of devil's advocate with people's lives. If that person walked into a building, and because everyone knew who they were silent. Remember, there'll be certain people there that know who they are, that are in the local authority or the police. And even they would be grateful that that person have come out to stand side to side with the community, say, you know what, enough killing. No one would care about what they've got then, because it's like, you know what can we do to help you, to help us stop the killings?
All right.
Okay, I think from my little experience, so I'm a student here right now, so I'm just listening to you too. In relation to funding, I'm not a funding fan. I think there's a lot of people, for a lot of meetings I go to, I always hear people talking about funding and we need to get funding from the government and so on. What I do know about that in terms of working in the youth sector is that when you apply for funding for anything, you always have to tick boxes. And in ticking boxes, you generally are agreeing to a consensus that they provide for your project. For example, for what I'm doing at the moment, which relates to Black families, I probably know it stands to reason I probably wouldn't get the adequate funding for it, because it only applies to one specific demographic in the community. But I do know that for the project that I'm doing, for the fact that there's going to be teachers coming and teaching, for the fact that we're going to need a place basically for people to come and sit and learn, and inculcate the understanding that we need them to apply to the everyday situation. We are going to need to spend money on resources and particular things in the room to provide not only a conducive learning atmosphere, but to further promote and continue that agenda. So, from my perspective at the moment, we're crowdfunding at the moment, and I'm doing that for a very specific reason, because I would like the community to, enable themselves, and I want them to feel as if they are part of putting the solution, out there, and putting it together by putting their money. Where there's a lot of people saying, I want this to stop, I want that to stop, I want this to stop. Well, ultimately, we need to get into a do for self mentality. And that is going to involve some people dipping into their pockets. I'm not saying people need to be putting out grants and grants and grants, but I do believe, a lot of us have got Netflix, a lot of us have got this trainer, that trainer, got this nice car, I do think that if we learn to manage our money a little bit better, we can, put a bit of money towards the community, and put it towards specific agendas. But I wouldn't say go the funding route, but I would say fund ourselves in terms of economics, in terms of politics, in terms of whatever we need to do. At some point in time, we are going to have to dip our hands into our pockets and say that we need to put this up. If we want full creative control for what we're doing, let's put this up, let's put this together. And then we can also feel that we've got a part and a stake in what it is that we've got forward. Would anyone agree or disagree?
No, I agree. I think self-funding or creating movements that are self-sustainable needs to be big on the agenda, because too many times that we go for funding, from the bigger lottery or from government, and it is very tick box, but it's also time limited. And, it means that we can only work for a year or 3 years. Whereas if we were self-sustainable, if we had products that were out there that we were selling and getting a profit from, and we were using that to do the work in the community, then it's more on us to be able to keep those funds coming in and do what we want and be able to generate an income that supports the young people. Because it goes back to what Gwenton was saying earlier, our young people want to be legal. They want apprenticeships, they want job opportunities. And it comes down to the fact that I believe that we need to be providing our young people with those opportunities. We need to be able to say, well, okay, you want an apprenticeship. Okay, let me call up Jay real quick. I know he's running his newspaper. How about you go be a journalist for him? And me being able to call you up and say, yeah, boom, I need this. I need this young person on payroll. Can you work with him? But can you also train him up? Can you give him help advise him? Can you be a bit of a mentor for him? I think we need more of that going on in our community, because even with the apprenticeships and the opportunities that are happening at the moment, a lot of the time we're outsourcing. A lot of the time we're having to go into the city. A lot of the time we're having to go to the bigger organizations in order to get these opportunities for our young people. And I think we also need to be mindful that we need to be able to provide these opportunities, because from working in the criminal justice system, I see more opportunities for those young people coming out of prison than I do for those young people before they get there. And I think we need to flip that on its head a little bit and make sure that our 16, 17, 18-year-olds or 14, 15-year-olds have avenues to go get work experience and have avenues to go make money or have avenues to start up their own businesses. Because if we can work with them at that point, then we can prevent them from going into the criminal justice system.
Right.
No, I agree with both points. It's about showing that you can survive without begging anyone for nothing. And it's the same formula that these youths are using on the road. They don't want to beg no one for nothing, so they go and get their own money. They might not have education to apply for certain jobs or whatever, so they make their own money. So it's about, all right, then how about doing this? You've already got the skills. How about doing this and we get you a mentor from the city to help you be able to run that company? And I tell you another problem that I've got here. There are a lot of people from the community that's, I wouldn't say hit it lucky, because everyone deserves their break here, that have got a break, and I don't know what community work they do. Let's be real about it, because I've never seen them anywhere I've gone doing any community work. But we still go and buy their drinks and sauces and pizza and all the rest of it. These people, if you try to even inbox them on one of the social media sites, they won't even respond. Are you that busy or that big that you can't even respond to say, you know what? I don't want no money off you. Come endorse what I'm doing. Just you probably standing here might be able to give it a push forward. A lot of these people won't even turn up. And this is what we have to look at, because people look at them and think, boy, look how they made it out. And I wish I could get to where they are or even see them. And you don't see them. And the reason why I'm saying this is I went to an event the other day in, where was it, Ealing or somewhere, Ilford.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah. And yeah, people think that I'm gone. I'll be straight with you. People in my community think like I'm like Levi Roots of the community or something. I ain't no Levi Roots. My money ain't long like his at all. But I decided to go back just for this. 'Cause I know there's a lot of people that don't really understand what I do and whatever else. So that's the first time, to be honest, that I've gone back to one of them events. I set up from the background. So when you see marches or whatever, I'll deal with them from the background and stay in the background.
Mm.
But I decided to come and play up front. And what I saw was people like Wretch and other people coming out to support that event because certain people could get through to them.
Mm.
But we need more people like that.
Mm.
Well, like Wretch or like the people doing it?
No, we need, what I'm saying is, people think Wretch and other people would like go on their celebrities. I watched the 24 Hours of Captain Conan the other day. And I must say, after that, the respect that I've got for those two young boys have gone up a million. And the reason why I'm going to use them as an example is the friends that probably stayed loyal to them, they've got them with them.
Mm.
And a lot of these youths are just waiting for one of them to make it so they could leave. And that just shows what we're here talking about. A lot of them are waiting for that opportunity to exit this place. Not a lot of them want to be out there. Yeah? But that exit never seems to come, and then they end up doing something stupid.
Mm.
So the point I'm getting to is this. All the people them that can support should support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're doing something, you want me to come out, I respect you, I'm there.
Mm.
We're not getting a lot of that, and this is what we need to really talk about. We have a handful of people in the community going around manipulating people's minds for their own hidden agendas, and that's one of the big problems why we're still having this sort of behavior, because there's a lot of people pretending to help people, and they're only helping their egos and themselves.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, not to cut you, if you look around the country, yeah, and this is a sad truth, man, everyone that's actually doing real work, we really know each other.
Mm.
So really think about that. We got some people that pretend to do work, but we've got people that actually do real work. And there's a handful of us in the whole country.
Mm.
Yeah, a handful.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's serious.
Mm.
I think that's rooted in a condition. I think that's rooted in a condition of where people are and their general passivity towards doing stuff for their self. Period. I think that we're heavily reliant on governance of our community and of ourselves. And then when something happens, it's so bad. Oh, something's happened. And it becomes far more of an inconvenience to our life than we actually genuinely care. So when we actually go out there and we want to, we're saying we're going to put in some work for this or for that, it's only for a very short amount of time, because a lot of people that get involved in this are not. In general, I mean, even in the music industry, it's the same. You want the rewards, but you don't really want to put in the work. And then you say to yourself, right, I'm going to put in the work for 5-10 minutes, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month or two. And then you get used to the understanding of that you've really got to go out here and get into the nitty-gritty. You've got to talk to people in the community. You've got to put your own money up. You've got to, spend, I know, like Whitney, for example, herself, she puts in extra hours in order to do things like this, in order to facilitate her own businesses. And there's a lot of people that aren't willing to do that work and put that work in. So I'm cautious in criticizing everyone in the community, because I know people have got the intent there, but in terms of actually putting in the work, I don't think they understand what's involved in, really making a change in any of it.
I also think there's a lot of fear involved, because it's very easy to be used as a scapegoat in this field, and it is very easy to do something wrong and have the whole world point at you because you've done it. And I've seen it over and over again, and I've seen a lot of practitioners and a lot of people not wanting to step forward because, with that power and responsibility, there is a lot more that you can And I think in the sector as it is now, especially with the funding, you know, you can do the smallest thing wrong and lose your funding. You can do the smallest thing wrong and get, you know, kicked out of your work. And I've seen people, you know, lose work and lose jobs for, you know, well, sometimes very big things, but sometimes very small things as well. And I think there's also a certain fear that's going on that no one particularly wants to stick their neck out on the line, but also you don't want to be that person that's involved with a young person and that young person gets killed as well, or something happens to that young person, because it, you know, again, it goes back to that trauma and being completely overwhelmed by feelings. And, you know, it's a big thing. And like you said, Gwenton, there is a handful of us. But I look at the people that are involved in 507, we have possibly, you know, 10 to 15 practitioners at any one moment involved. But I'm pretty sure every single one of those have been involved some way, shape or how with the young people that have been killed this year, or the young people that have killed this year, whether it was their neighbor, whether it was they were one of the ones that took them to the hospital. So there's a small amount of people doing a lot of work and holding a lot of the trauma. And I think we have to be aware of that, because also those looking in might not want to take on that position, because it's difficult. It's horrible. I think we have many conversations about how draining this work is and the secondary trauma involved. So again, I think it's a very complex beginning of. So just to round up, I want to, you know, look at some of the points that we raised in regards of solution, because I do think that we always need to be solution focused in all our conversations. So
I didn't get to give my solution. Did I give my solution? Focus. I don't remember doing it.
You were talking about it being self-sustainable, and that
that was
having to put money down. Go on then, carry on.
All I was going to say, I'll just round that up very quickly. For me, it's about focusing on the value systems that we occupy. And as I say, as it relates to my project, we're founding those value systems or rooting them in the family. Because I think everyone's first community, everyone's first nation, your value system is given to you from the family. You can change it as you go on there and life, but many of us stick to that particular value system, and then we kind of transmigrate them into the community, and all occupy that same kind of value system, and then particular cultural norms and cultural precepts. It continues and it perpetuates, and it becomes a culture that we live in today for many other different reasons, predicated on stress and trauma and so on and so forth. But for me, if I had that money, that money to do what I reckon in the community, it would be based on forming something, an agenda or some type of project which tackled the value systems of our young people. And gave them some type of purpose and or stake in society to really, employ themselves or attach themselves to, so they've got something, to focus on and push forward. So that's generally value system.
Okay, so your audio went a little bit in and out then, but it was mainly looking at the value system. Quickly, before we go, Jay, do a bit of a plug. Your 60-second elevator pitch to what you are doing right now and where people can go to support you.
So the project is called 100 Black Families. Now, it's particularly based in Black families because of the disproportionate realities as it relates to unemployment, as it relates to youth crime, as it relates to incarceration, so on and so forth, that affect the Black family in this country and across the West. It's something that's going to start in this country, a trial period in this country, and potentially expand on forwards towards America. What we're doing is we're trying to gather 100 Black families within this country together, bring them in, connect them together, have them in network with each other. As I said before, inculcate a particular understanding, a particular value system towards them, within them, that they all potentially operate by or under, and then push that out into the community, essentially. So, but what we want to do is we want us to build us. It's essentially us uplifting us. So we're trying to get as many people as we can to try and help fund what we're trying to do. There's flyers on Facebook, which is Black Fam 100. The Twitter is Black Fam 100. I've contracted a host of different teachers, a host of different scholars, a host of different, it won't necessarily just be me. I'm just trying to facilitate it. And it just needs you to donate, really. The GoFundMe, the crowdfunding is gofundme.com/BlackFam100. It's BlackFam100 on all social media websites. So if you can give a tenner or $5, £1.50, it don't really matter. all the accounts, and then all you've got to do is keep in contact with us on the social media. We'll show you exactly what we're doing with the resources. We'll show you exactly what we're doing in the actual course and the project when the agenda starts. And if you want to register yourself onto it, or even just get any more information, all you have to do is email us at blackfam100, it is, at hotmail.com. We'll send you an information pack. Then if you're still interested, we'll invite you for a consultation meeting and we'll take it from there.
Brilliant. And Gwenton, you said some of your solutions was an amnesty for those young men who have a lot of the power on the roads, for them to be able to live a legit lifestyle as long as they are bringing in the other young men. Was that all?
That's one of my solutions for the new year and going forward. Let's call it amnesty and allow people to keep their illegal assets. If they're ready to change their life, let's support them through that transition.
Okay. And also, you spoke about apprenticeships, that a lot of our young people want to go legit. They just need some help transitioning into that.
Yeah.
And getting more people involved. So not just the normal faces, getting people outside the kind of choir that we always seem to be preaching to, getting them involved and being able to come together to create more power and unity. And you have done some amazing things. Your books are something that you have not spoken about. Would you like to just tell everyone about your books and where people can get them from?
Yeah, I've got a few books on the Amazon and other websites, but I tend not to talk about the books because it's a part of the archives. If you understand, a lot of people always say that to me. Why don't you ever plug the books? But I'm not just an author, so it's a part of the archives. If you want to keep one of my memorabilia in your house, you could order it from Amazon. But there's much more to come. There's the short film coming out in February. There's already a documentary on BBC Learning Zone, which is doing the rounds in the schools. So yeah, there's a lot of thing out there, a lot of material. I've got a YouTube channel that's doing really well, and a lot of parents go on there weekly looking for things to download. So yeah. So
how do people find your YouTube? Is it they just
just type my name into YouTube and my channel will come up, and there's a lot of material on there. If you feel there's something that you want me to raise, just inbox me on Facebook, or I'm on any social media sites and I'll raise it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So behind the scenes, what I've been doing is collecting a lot of what's being said during the conversations, but also on social media, also with each of the guests via WhatsApp, and the conversations we're having outside of the Mondays to put together an actual action plan. So the Violence Interrupted series is just the beginning of something rather than something within itself. So we're looking to do 2 more seminars. So the next 2 Mondays. Next Monday is going to be looking more so at prison and violence, and the week after looking at joint enterprise and the effect of life sentences for children. So we've got 2 more Blabs, but then we have a strategy starting to develop behind the scenes of what we can do in 2016. So I hope that you both will be involved in that. I know we talk very regularly anyway, but thank you very much for giving up some of your time on another Monday evening. I really appreciate this. The feedback from the Blabs and from the Violence Interrupted series has been amazing. We just got published on the Huffington Post this evening, so I'm very excited about that, because that is a whole new different audience. So thank you for that. And hopefully I will see everyone back next week. So enjoy your evening and have a great week. And just thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye. Oh, man's got to click on this.